Welcome back, y'all, and happy Monday. Today, we're going to talk about some more changes to college football, specifically to the SEC. There is a newly proposed SEC championship and playing game model that will probably start in 2026, and I've seen a whole lot of pushback from fans across the country based off of this. I'm going to give you my thoughts on it, and I will tell you what it could potentially mean for Tennessee if we do indeed go to this model, and I'll also tell you what college football just needs to go on ahead, break down, and do so that it's a good product for everybody, especially for us as fans. At least the best product possible. As always, y'all, please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. All right, y'all, these are two of the early proposals coming directly from the SEC on how the SEC championship and playing games could look in 2026. I got this information from Pete Nakos of On3. I think that I got this from X. We all know that the SEC and the Big Ten will have 4 automatic playoff bids in 2026. And these rankings right here is going to be based off of the 2024 final season rankings of the SEC, how this would look in 2026 with these, individual models. So the first one up at the top, there's some things about it that I definitely like. So number one, we're talking about Texas versus UGA in the SEC championship game, and they would get an automatic playoff bid each. So that's great. And I would say that the winner of that game would get a higher playoff seeding. So it makes the SEC championship game, the regular season games, mean a little bit more. And it also does, make you want to win the SEC championship game, because we've heard several coaches and players and everybody else coming out and saying, why would we even want to play in the conference championship game when we could lose and not make it to the, playoffs, which is what everyone wants to do. This whole thing is about winning championships for the coaches, for the players, and all that type of stuff. Now, for the higher ups, for, the people that's over the conferences, they're all about making money. And that's where these playing games come in at. So number one, okay, we're talking about a playing game for teams 3 through 6 in the SEC. And I would not love this model last season as a Tennessee fan, because we're sitting at number 3 and we should automatically be inside of the college football playoffs, because again, the top 4 teams should just make it, period, point blank. But we would have to face up against South Carolina, who would be number 6. Now, South Carolina's a team that last season at this point, you didn't want to play them because they were really hot. They looked really good. Probably would have been a pretty tough matchup for Tennessee as well. I think that we still would have won the game. And I have no idea if the game will be played in Neyland, if it's going to be at a neutral site. Not quite sure on that, but I don't necessarily love it from that perspective. Now, if we were in South Carolina's spot, sitting at number 6, or if we were in LSU spot, sitting at number 5, you like this because it gives you that extra chance to make it to the college football playoffs. But for us, and not that I care how Alabama feels, but for us in Bama, we'll just say if you're in the 3 or in the 4 spot, this is not something that you want to do. You want to automatically make it. So there are some good things to this, just as far as making the regular season more important, more meaningful, and doing the same thing for the conference championship game. I think that the first model would be the best option, because the second model is a million times worse. What we're talking about is teams 1 through 8, so the top half of the SEC, all have a chance to make it to the college football playoffs. So if you're Texas, let's just say if Texas didn't lose a game last season, they won some really big ones, right? They go undefeated. Or let's just say that it's us, it's Tennessee. We go undefeated, right? And then we still have to have a play-in game to make it to the college football playoffs. That makes absolutely positively no sense. And there's no way in the world that we should go to a system like that. I would almost say that, that second model that we're just talking about, there's no way that that's going to happen. They can't do that. There would be too much pushback from too many institutions up at the top. And those are the ones that really pull all the strings. Now, again, if Tennessee is sitting at, like 5 through 8, then yeah, you love that model because it gives you that extra chance after kind of a poor season. You could also kind of play like devil's advocate and say, well, if you're really better than those teams, it really shouldn't matter. But this is a one-off. This is not like you're playing a 7-game series. This is if you lose a game, if you have a bad game as a team or as a quarterback or anything, it just takes a couple of plays. Football is a game of inches. You could lose all the hard work that you put into the season. And I don't see that happening. So I do want to go ahead and move on and show you what I would like to see happen for college football. And also, before we move on to that, please do make sure to leave your thoughts on what the SEC is proposing moving forward in 2026. So this is what I think college football should move to, and that's a super league. And I've talked about this before on this channel. I'm not the only person that thinks this way. I've talked to high school coaches, college coaches, players, everything. Most people who understand how football works, that have played football, that, have coached football on a higher level, they understand that this is really what you need to do, because there's really only 50 teams in college football that actually have a shot to win a national title. And it's probably even less than that. Like saying 50, even saying 40, that's being very, very generous. And actually, the reason that the ACC Conference Championship game is going to look so stupid and, there's playing games and, they're having to do all these money grab things, the college football playoffs is not the best. It's because they are trying to appease to the have-nots. And I'm all for that. But my point here, y'all, is that let those more so have-nots, I'm not trying to be mean or rude whenever I say that, but let those lesser programs have their own league so that they can actually compete for the championships. They'll still get the TV contracts. There'll be less teams that they have to split that money up with, and they can eat, you know what I'm saying? Like they can still live, and they're not going to water down this product that we like to watch, right? As SEC fans, as Tennessee fans, we are part of the big boys. So this should benefit us tremendously. But with all that being said, my model would look like 40 teams, okay, with 2 conferences. Everything is going to be based off of the NFL's model. And again, the only reason that we haven't pretty much replicated that is either because they have some sort of a copyright on it, which they could. I don't know that they do. And it's also because we're just trying to make sure that everyone is included. This is not the time to do that because it's hurting the consumer more than anybody else. So again, 40 teams total with 2 conferences. We're going to have 5 divisions inside of each conference. That's a total of 10 divisions, 4 teams inside of each division. And just like inside of the NFL, you're going to play 6 division games, home and away. So love all of that stuff. And I'll show you how all the stuff is going to look as we're going through. We're going to talk about playoffs and all of that stuff. But next thing is going to be you will get 4 conference games. So 4 games inside of your own conference outside of your division. So you're going to play a team essentially from every single division in all of college football. You will also get 4 out of conference games, from the opposite side. So the way that I would probably set this up is you would get 1 year, 3 home games, 2 games on the road. And then the next year you would get 2 home games and then 3 on the road. All right, now let me break down my playoff model. It's going to be based off of the NFL's model because that's the tried and true system. So why not just replicate that? It's going to be a 14-team playoff model. 10 of those teams will be division winners, and then we're going to have 2 wild cards from each conference. The wild cards are just the teams with the highest records that did not win a division. So again, just like how the NFL playoffs work, and we already know that the team with the best overall record is going to get that first round bye. There will be reseeding based off of your regular season record. This is a lot more fair just because while the schedules won't be 100% equal, it's not 100% equal inside of the NFL either. It's on a much more even playing field. That's what I think that we need to get to. We've got a whole lot of really good games. Everyone, all 40 teams will have an opportunity to make it to the college football playoffs. And, I just think that this is the best product that we can put out there. Also, I have to make sure that I point out that the conference championship games for me would be at a neutral field site. Okay. They can be either at a neutral field site or maybe it could be, at the highest seeds home venue. We could also, maybe throw bowl games into that. You could do that throughout all the playoffs. I don't know how that part of it's going to work. I just think that at some point throughout the playoffs, home field advantage needs to be part of it. And this is what my college football playoffs would look like. So as we said in the first round, the highest seed gets that first round bye. Then we're going to have team that's seeded number 2 playing up against team that's seeded number 7, the number 3 seed versus the number 6 seed, the number 4 seed versus the number 5 seed. And then in the second round, the highest seed would play up against the lowest seed. And then, whoever's left, those 2 teams play. So I guess that would be teams seeded 2 and 3 at that point. Then we get that conference championship. Like we said, this is where we can bring in, some of those bowl games or, whatever, and they can alternate. And that would be at a neutral field site. Then we have the national championship game. That could also be at a neutral field site. And you can rotate all of this stuff. It could be in different places. I personally would recommend always do this stuff indoors. I don't like the idea of championship games being played outside anymore, just because for what? Like, we've got so many great venues in really good cities, and it would be a whole lot of fun, I feel like, for the college football fan. It's something just to get us riled up. Now, some of y'all are probably thinking, when is this season going to start? So for me, I would start it maybe the first weekend in August, maybe a little bit earlier, or maybe you have to start it later, just because you don't want for our playoffs to be interfering with the NFL's playoffs. That's probably not going to be the best look. The NFL wouldn't like that. And they would probably try to shut down whatever they could, if they could. But I'm just saying, we can work around all those things. The biggest thing for me is the actual substance of what we're doing. And this looks great. Y'all let me know, what do y'all think? Do y'all like this? Do y'all hate this? Do y'all love it? Either way, we're going to go on to the next slide. And these are my 40 teams. So this is just a list of the top 40 teams based off of how much money they've been allocating to NIL. Now, I think that this was from 2024, but this is, obviously, this is not going to be set in stone. This is just so that we have some teams to work with inside of our model, and we know how this whole thing could play out. But I would probably say, hey, you want to put the teams that have the most resources into this league, because that's where the difference is going to come into play at. Now, there are some teams that aren't mentioned here. Again, you can throw them in there if you want to. This is just an example. So this is how the conferences could look if it's not based off of geographical location. Tennessee is going to be in Conference B, Division number 2, and we are in there with Michigan State, Virginia, and Oklahoma State. And this is how our 15-game schedule could possibly look. So there's a lot of really good matchups here, right? Like, I absolutely love this idea of playing up against good teams, good competition every single week. And 15 games is probably about perfect to me. Could you maybe cut that down some? Yeah, you definitely could. But I'm just kind of throwing something out there to show you how things should look more or less. If you want to, throw out less teams, then I'm fine with that too. As long as Tennessee is involved, then it doesn't too much matter. Now, this is how things could look if we were to do the conferences based off of geographical location. And Tennessee is going to be down in Conference B in Division 2, and we have Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Arkansas State inside of our division. So Arkansas State just kind of snuck in there. I mean, I had no idea that they were a top 40 team as far as NIL goes. Either way, man, you could throw in somebody else. Like, you could throw in Alabama if you really wanted to, or a Vanderbilt. And I know a whole lot of y'all are going to be wondering what's going to happen with all these rivalry games and things like that. You can find a way to still fit that in. We did not do that today. I just wanted to give you an overall gist of how this thing could look. So next, let's take a look at this 15-game schedule if everything is going to be based off of geographical location. And I love seeing all these different names on here. I mean, that's fun to me. I don't see any like scrub matchups really. Everybody is a true legitimate Power 4 team except for Arkansas State, which, again, man, you could mix and match them with an Alabama if you want to, or, whoever. You could throw somebody else in their spot. But outside of that, man, these are really, really good matchups. And I think that that's important for us as fans that want to watch this stuff, especially from our own volunteers. But think about how Saturdays are going to look whenever you've got this caliber of matchup every single Saturday, all day long. I think that this is beautiful. And I know that some people might want to go back to the BCS. Some people want to go back to that 14 playoff system. Some people might want to go back to what we had last season. I don't know. Everyone has their own preference, but there was a lot of people that hated all those systems too. And we're not going back to any of them. So we might as well just let that thing go. Moving forward, this is the way. This is how we can not only generate a lot more money for all these conferences, all these institutions, because listen, ESPN or any TV network would pay a buttload of money to get this caliber of games with a, jam-packed loaded schedule every single Saturday. They're going to make billions of dollars off of something like this. And I believe that the institutions and schools could make plenty of money as well. That means that the players should also be getting paid more. And it's not, taking away the fan experience. That's the biggest thing that I want to focus on today. So those are my thoughts. Please share yours with me down in the comment section. And as always, please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Also, please do consider giving us a follow or at least checking out our Sports Legends page. Very similar to this channel, but it's on a national scale. And we most definitely would appreciate all of the support. But as always, please do make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace.